On today's video, I will show you how to take your aging Game Boy Advance SP hardware and revive it to make it look like this. As these consoles continuously age, they gather many scratches, bumps, and wear, and broken hinges even. So it's a good idea to replace your shell if you're thinking about it. So let's do that. Tools and parts. First off, you're going to need a donor system, a new shell, which I went with Extreme Rate for this project as it comes with a lot of stuff, and an electronic screwdriver kit if you're going to be doing this several times. Pretty useful. Disassembly. Swapping to a Phillips bit. On the back of the system there is a battery cover. Please remove this. Once removed, take out the battery and see if it is bulged or damaged. If it is, please replace this battery as it can be quite troublesome in the future. Swapping to a Y-bit. There is a screw in both the battery compartment and the cartridge slot. Please remove these. After those are removed, please put them on some sort of organization mat or know where you're putting them because it can be troublesome if you don't do this. Now on the back of the system there are 4 more screws. Once removed, you should be able to lift up the back half of the shell. Now you have access to the motherboard. There are now 3 Phillips bit screws on the motherboard. Please remove these. Once removed, take some sort of pick tool, gently lift up the motherboard, and unfasten the clips holding the ribbon cable in place. This should not be hard to do. Now remove the speaker. Underneath the ribbon cable there is a hidden Phillips bit screw. This is rather long and is holding the hinge cap in place. Be careful with this. After that is removed, please remove the hinge cap. Open up the console and remove the hinge caps holding this in place. After that, there are 5 Y-bit screws holding the screen panel in place. Remove these. After those are removed, close the system and remove the top shell. Now gently open up the system to remove the screen. Push it out of place and grab it with your other hand and make sure it's not getting caught on anything in the ribbon cable. Now it's time for the hinges. This is a notoriously difficult part to do, but it's not that difficult. It will involve pushing a lot of force right here with the screwdriver. Now, take your pick tool and loosen up these clips on the inside of the hinge. Now take your screwdriver, align it to the center, and push with a lot of force. Mine unfortunately had clips that broke off, but I got it out. As you see here, there are some clips broken off of it. For the other one, you just lift the other shell part up and you should be able to push that out rather easy. Now make sure to differentiate which one is which, because if you mix them up you can mess up the hinge. Also remove the hinge caps. Now wipe off the surface you're working on, as you can cause some crud to get back inside the console. Reassembly. Take your top mid-frame and bottom mid-frame and align them like this. Take your hinge caps and prepare them. Now remove them out of the bag they're probably sitting in. Take your right hinge barrel and put the hinge cap onto it. Now take the little grooves that the hinge is supposed to go in and kind of slot it in place. Do the same for the left one. The left one was a little bit more difficult because the right one had broken clips. Keep that in mind. Now, if done properly, it should open like this. If not, you've either mixed up the hinge or put them in improperly. Please rewatch. Now, take this screen and wipe it off. I'm using IPA for this step. This is to make the screen look more nice in the new shell, and if this is not done, it can look rather ugly. Now, with the new polished screen, put that into the shell. Take the little ribbon cable and slot it through the hinge. This should not be difficult to do. I'm going to put a Zelda Breath of the Wild sticker in here for customization. This is completely optional to do. Now take the top shell and put it on like that. Now gently, with a bit of force, opening it up, take your screws out and put them onto your organization mat. Now, the reason I'm doing this is because since these screws are new, they have a slight different threading or a slight different length, and these usually need to be used for the new shells because it can cause cracking if you try and use the originals. So please try and use these and organize them to match the originals. Now, taking the top mid-frame, screw in the screws that are similar to the original ones. Pretty forceful, just make sure there are no white crackings happening on the other side. Once completed, you should have something like that. Now take the hinge cap and put that in position. Screw that in with the longer Phillips bit screw. If done, it should look like that. Now open the system up and put the motherboard in position. This is just a test, this is completely optional. This is highly suggested to see if you tore the cable, however. Now putting the battery in, you should use some sort of tweezers or some thin item to use the power switch. If done properly, it should look like this. Now take out the button set that you are using. I'm using black buttons for this build. Lift up the motherboard gently. This is a complete optional way to do it, though this is my way of doing it because I don't have to sit there and unplug the cable with the buttons hanging out. But if you want to remove the ribbon cable, go ahead. This is completely optional. Now put the speaker and the speaker foam in, the little LED indicator, and the membranes. I am using OEM membranes as they feel better. If you're going to use OEM membranes, make sure there are no tears in them, as that can occur. Lower the motherboard down, take the similar motherboard screws and screw them in position. Take some isopropyl alcohol, if you have any, and spritz it onto the power switch or use a cotton swab. Also do this for the L and R triggers, as this is just general maintenance to make sure they continue to work. Also clean out even the charge port if you'd like. Put the power switch smooth side down into the slot. Make sure everything else is there. Now take your bottom shell. We are going to be doing the triggers. Take the two little metal rods and put them into the holes near the triggers. Take your L trigger, the spring, and put it in position like this. Slot that into place and take the little metal leg and put it into the little holder. If done properly, it should be like that. Now do the same for the right trigger. Make sure the springs are actually different. They're not the same spring. Put it in position and lower the little leg into the holder like before. If done properly, you should have two little springy clips. Now, that's pretty nice. Put the little screw nut in the little screw holder in the middle. Don't forget that. The cartridge slot, put the insulating sticker on the back of it. Yours may not have this depending on the shell you're using. Screw it in place with screws that are similar to the hinge cap screws. They're a little bit longer. Just make sure you're using the right one, of course. Now, if done properly, you should put the bottom shell onto the back of the other one. Now, if done right, you should be able to screw the 4 little Y-bit screws on the back of the console. Oh, my glove tore. That's unfortunate. Now the screw in the battery compartment, and the screw in the cartridge slot. Now put your battery inside and test if the system works. Luckily for me, it does work. So put the battery cover on with the small Phillips wide bit screw. Now flip it over and you're going to do the hinge caps. Now you're going to take the new ones, the 2 big and puffy ones go on the top left and top right, as the smaller, flatter ones go on the top, the bottom left, and the bottom right. Make sure to remember this pattern. Now, if you're done with this, you should have a nice and beautiful Game Boy Advance SP. Please let me know if there are any improvements to this guide that you'd like to see. As this was my first time making a guide for anything, I just wanted to say that I hope this guide helped you out. Let me know down in the comments. So please subscribe if you want more videos like this. Anyways, see you guys next time. Have a great time with your new reshelled Game Boy Advance. Let me know what color scheme you went with as well. I'd like to hear that.